Hello, welcome to the Quicksilver Adventuring League. Today I want to talk about a supplement I made and have been working on for, oh gosh, a few weeks now, if not a month. So essentially, it's the origins of the world and the Pantheon that populates this world. And so it's going to include the oaths I made for all the paladins, all 18, because the Pantheon's 18 strong, and then the 18 domains I made for the clerics. If you like what you see, please feel free to check us out on Patreon as well, where I'll actually have some exclusive content. But on with the video. The way I like to do it is I would actually created a basic outline. So as you look at the supplement, it actually has just like a page or so devoted to each one, some of them too, as to their histories and how they came to this world. But that way, actually, the players can actually help me to build out more of the history as the campaign progresses. So that basic outline is there, and then as we play, the players will actually, think of things on the fly all the time, and then I will actually incorporate it without telling them that I'm incorporating it into the canon. And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. We should probably actually do that. So I will take that little thing, tweak what I had in mind, and then add their little twist to it. And I enjoy doing that because I don't always think of everything. No one person can, and it helps for my players to actually help me out with that. And they enjoy seeing something they thought of appear in the game, or at least a variation of it. So it's just the way I like to do it. I don't like to sit there and pre-plan out every little aspect of every little thing, and then this is the way it is. So that's just not as fun for me. But to each his own. One thing about my DM style is that I like to allow my players to play pretty much anything, so long as it's reasonably balanced, not overpowered, ridiculously overpowered, or ridiculously underpowered. I want them to enjoy the role-playing thing. If they're going to be playing this character for, in a campaign for potentially 2 years, I want them to be happy with it. So I let them pick, and then I modify my DM style to fit the players. So, like for example, CRs are a nice, guideline, but I don't find them hard and fast, to use simply because, I guess a CR3 creature with a party, one party has some magic items and one party has zero. The one with the magic items is probably going to be able to handle the CR3 creature at the same level as the other one easier than the other one. So I always have to tailor my monsters to fit the situation. So if the player's a little bit overpowered or maybe a little bit underpowered for role-playing purposes, I just have to tailor it a little bit more. And my players are happier, and then therefore I'm happier, and the campaign goes a lot more smoothly. And since it is a smoother transition, I wanted to actually have the history of the world actually help my players with their session zero and help figure out why, like some oddball, maybe a homebrew character, a class, a race, whatever, something. I wanted to make it easier for them to justify being here. Like a seasoned player or someone who's been listening to fantasy, most of their lives, probably would have an easier time, thinking of a reason that your character would be here. What I did is I named this world Nesiroon a Nexus world, where the original deities used this as a staging ground to help populate the rest of the different worlds within the universe. And so it's considered neutral ground, and they were not allowed to populate it. So there's a lot of portals on this world, and those portals would head out to those different worlds, and they would send peoples through to populate those worlds. And then over time, these worlds were forgotten. And then a group of people fleeing a catastrophe happened to accidentally run across this world and found it unpopulated, so they chose to settle here. And then once they settled here, they needed to bring in other people. So they went to other places and started pulling in people to help populate this world. And so that is the way that I helped justify it. If the player wanted to, they could use that so they could play pretty much anything they wanted. With that world design, I only had a few deities come over in that initial group. And so they actually went out and explored and found others to join them. And so each of the deities' backgrounds is how they actually became part of the Pantheon of Nesiroon. So I have that basic background of probably a page or two of each. And then I left the rest of it as something that we can build out as the campaign progresses. Because again, I like to have my players help have input on this so that they can help add nuance, because I'm not able to think of everything. That nuance can actually help a lot with adding flavor to the deities in the background. Not only does that nuance add flavor to the deities, but also it adds flavor to what the paladins and the clerics can be, and anyone actually following the religions of those deities. And so that can actually add more, even more role-playing flair to the actual player characters later on. Because not only, I mean, this supplement only has the I did a paladin oath and a cleric domain for each, and that's included in it. But now that this is done, I can actually use this for other aspects of the game as well. Because beyond the paladins and the clerics, I actually really like making all these subclasses because I don't just use it for the player characters, but I also use it for my campaign war because I will have regional specific subclasses that can be used, and then they may migrate somewhere else. But not only that, but then the regional specific can also lead to like fighters that follow a deity, a bard, a sorcerer. Maybe they make a pact a warlock that maybe makes a pact with one of these deities. There's all kinds of aspects that can be brought in, but I like using the subclasses as kind of theme flair for the world itself. I actually didn't create this campaign setting in the hopes that other people would use it. I mean, great if you do, but I really did it as a example of what you can do. Build out your own. Ideas to help build out yours. Like I pulled inspiration from all of the hundreds of books I've read over the decades I've been playing this. And so that's how I built out mine. But go ahead and use your own inspiration to build out yours. It's just something you can do. You can use it in conjunction with your players. Shoot, pull like you always have an off night. Maybe you have a player that's, not part of the off night. Maybe somebody's going to a party or a family event, and then you've got two or three of your players around. Just go ahead and pull them in for a session and let them help you world build and do it together. That's the fun of this game is hanging out with your friends, and actually having a good time and then telling a story together. And as a DM, write it down. Make sure you keep notes on this, and that way, if one of your players wants to take over running the game for a while, they know exactly what's going on. One other comment about world design is just because maybe you're not a writer doesn't mean that you can't do this. Me personally, I was a math major, wannabe engineer, and writing was never my forte. But I was able to put this down, and I go through so many rough drafts on this. Like I think I had 7 rough drafts on most of this, and so I would just write out, bullet points of what I want to do. Then I would flush out the bullet points, start making short sentences about each theme, and then paragraphs. And my writing comes across as kind of technical in the beginning. So like if you look at my initial rough drafts, it looks pretty technical. Then once I get to the actual technical aspect, that's when I started adding some flair and some flourish. And so when you read it, I apologize. There's going to be some grammar errors. I think I, spell checked enough in Word that I caught all the spelling errors, but they still slip through. And so, don't let that hold you back. Just get in there, go for it. And at least for me, it takes a long time. It's hours of work, but it's rewarding in the end. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope you found this useful. I encourage you definitely to build out your own campaign worlds and continue telling your own stories. And always, if you can, I enjoy it. Enjoy helping out new players and encouraging them to join the game, even if it's not Dungeons and Dragons. Any role playing game where you get together with friends on the weekends or weekdays, whatever, and just have a great time. But I find doing these videos and building out this campaign world I'm working on quite fun. And even though it's a lot of work, but feel free to check me out on at Patreon and for some exclusive content. But if not, see you next time.